Welcome to Smash Fiction, the podcast where we argue stuff to prove stuff about stuff because stuffing? I love stuffing! You know who else loves stuffing? Our contestants in today's Thanksgiving-themed Battle Burger Royale. And yes, it's got a perfectly fried egg right on top. This week is all about beer guts, ghostly cannibals, and pink marshmallow-looking motherfuckers, aka Homer Simpson, No-Face from Spirited Away, and Kirby.
Oh, Liz.
Oh, wow.
Liz.
One of the, I keep hoping that one of these days you'll learn the intro. Now I just hope you never do.
So here's our setup. It's currently the grueling 4th hour of the Coney Island hot dog eating contest. After consuming 1,656 hot dogs each and breaking the world record many times over, our esteemed panel of judges has decided to initiate a tie-breaking competition with multiple courses of food. Here come the severs now. Wow, what beautiful feud. Feud?
Feud.
Oh! It looks like we'll be starting with a cocktail, the Long Island Iced Boat! A literal small fishing boat full of different kinds of alcohol and tea! And then we have the feared pufferfish, aka fugu course, where each contestant must listen to the directions of an advanced chef in order to prepare the fugu properly and then eat it! Highly poisonous! There are also crab legs with butter and lemon. Each contestant must crack and strip away all parts of the shell before consuming that sweet, sweet meat!
Says you.
Then we have whole fried chickens that have been breaded with entire loaves of bread with ghost pepper hot sauce. Can these guys even eat those bones? And lastly, we have the dessert course. Each contestant will have in front of them a dozen pudding-filled donuts that have been submerged in chocolate ganache, stuffed into a cake, which was then deep-fried, and then covered with raw cookie dough. It is topped with caramel, chocolate syrup, vanilla ice cream, dusted with powdered sugar, and topped with 50 maraschino cherries.
I'll admit.
Just think about that. Just think.
You're doing a very good job of riffing off of Patton Oswalt's Black Angus bit.
Yes, indeed.
I was gonna say, I'm glad to say we're continuing our trend of alienating people. In this case, carnival barkers. So
Only old-timey carnival barkers, though, it would seem.
Yeah, mid-Atlantic carnival.
Back in the days before bass was invented.
So, who will be eating the fastest till their stomach bursts? I can't wait to see, so that's why I, Liz Logan, will be grabbing some popcorn and serving up some tasty dishes. Representing Homer Simpson is Miles Schneiderman.
Don't eat me! I have a wife and kids! Eat them!
Representing No-Face is Colin Mulcairn. And for that pink marshmallow-looking motherfucker Kirby is Dan Mulcairn.
Yes, you're in deep dough now.
I assume that's a quote from a Kirby thing?
No, it's Mr. Burns. It's Mr. Burns.
Oh, okay.
To determine the order of the gluttons, I picked who I would think tastes best as the fourth part of a turducken. Homer, aka Miles, would taste best, then Dan as Kirby, and then Colin as No-Face. This episode...
I can't win them all, I guess.
Well, he's all insubstantial and stuff. Yeah. He's a spirit.
You'd be hungry like half an hour later.
Yeah, it's worse than Chinese food.
Yeah. Japanese spirit food.
This episode has all the fixings you want, and the fixings you didn't need, just like any well-prepared gourmet meal. Homer, you have the buffet, floor.
So, I gotta say, at first glance, this doesn't seem like a fair fight. No-Face is like a spirit being that takes on the properties of all he consumes. Kirby is some sort of sentient pink balloon animal or something whose mouth is like a portal to a black hole. My guy, he's just a guy. He's a fat guy, but he's just a regular human being. And how could he possibly have a chance in this? Oh, wait, now I remember. He's Homer J. fucking Simpson. And I don't care what kind of magical stomach powers you're all bringing to the table. It's not going to be enough because the fact of the matter is, this isn't a fair fight. Kirby and No-Face might technically have a higher capacity for food, but when it comes to motivation, when it comes to willpower, when it comes to the single-mindedness and determination to eat as much as possible and damn the consequences, y'all are simply outclassed. Homer Simpson is the walking, talking, dough-ing, and donut-eating personification of gluttony. Kirby and No-Face can win this contest. Homer will win. We all know about Homer's love of donuts, but his capacity for ingestion goes far beyond those delicious snack treats. With the possible exception of Mountain Dew, there's just about nothing Homer won't consume if given the chance. In the episode New Kid on the Block, Homer takes advantage of the Flying Dutchman's all-you-can-eat offer to scarf all the restaurant shrimp plus 2 plastic lobsters, prompting Captain McAllister's line, "'Tis no man, 'tis a remorseless eating machine." Homer ends up suing the restaurant for false advertising, the settlement of which results in the Flying Dutchman promoting him as Bottomless Pete, nature's cruelest mistake. In king-size Homer, he eats until he weighs over 300 pounds, even going so far as to eat Maggie's Play-Doh. Unlike Kirby, Homer will even eat things he finds utterly disgusting, such as the klavkalash in The City of New York vs. Homer Simpson. Is it gross? Yes. Does Homer eat every ounce of klavkalash being sold by that New York street vendor? Also yes. Moreover, Homer's quest to eat everything around him is in no way inhibited by concern for his own well-being. In Brother Can You Spare 2 Dimes, it's revealed that Homer has 104% body fat, and Homer is still eating through this diagnosis. In Selma's Choice, he works his way through a 10-foot hoagie even as it gradually starts to go bad. Does the rotting sandwich eventually give him food poisoning? Yes. Does he finish the sandwich anyway? You're damn right he does, and he enjoys it! The true power of Homer's gluttony, however, can be seen only in the Treehouse of Horror episodes. In The Devil and Homer Simpson, Homer literally sells his soul for a donut. Upon his arrival in hell, he's made to eat an impossible quantity of donuts as a unique form of torture. It doesn't work. Homer eats them all. Later, after he gets out of the deal, Devil Flanders transforms his head into a donut. The result? Homer starts eating his own head. And then there's Married to the Blob, in which Homer consumes a green, gooey substance that comes out of a fallen meteorite, then proceeds to eat all the food in the house, along with the Simpsons cat, Snowball. He rampages through Springfield, eating everyone he can get his hands on. No-Face, yeah, he swallows the people around him with abandon, sure, but he eventually vomits them all back up. Homer Simpson Blob, though? Yeah, Mayor Quimby ends up opening a homeless shelter that, as it turns out, leads directly to Homer's stomach. Success or failure in any given task is a function of a person's priorities. You will work harder for the thing you care most about. Kirby's #1 priority is protecting Dreamland. For No-Face, it's getting Chihiro to like him. But Homer Simpson's #1 priority is, and has always been, eating. Not work, not family, food. It's why he eats chips passed down from loved ones as heirlooms. It's why his romantic entanglements always seem to include a turkey leg behind the bed. It's why, again in Selma's Choice, he actually says the words, quote, "Marge, I'd like to be alone with the sandwich for a moment." Where there's a will, there's a way, and nobody has a greater will to chow down with abandon than Homer Simpson.
Well, God bless you for reminding me of all those great Simpsons episodes, if nothing else.
Right? Research for this was so much fun.
Okay, Kirby, your turn.
So, we have a chronically overweight American who spits in the face of diabetes, a mopey ghost with a creepy mask, and the result of history's simplest and laziest possible character design, a pink circle with a face. I'm not gonna lie, this is a weird setup for Smash Fiction, but the victor in this is clear. In more ways than one, Kirby is simply in a different weight class from his opponents. You know how when someone eats food really quickly, people will describe that action as inhaling food? Well, Kirby actually literally inhales food, and can do so from a very respectable distance. Homer and No-Face have to be within arm's length of their intended meals, but Kirby just needs to open up his mouth and everything in a cone area of effect gets sucked in. In the vast majority of his games, he can inhale indefinitely. He can consume an entire table of food in just a few seconds, including the table. In the anime, it's explained that his stomach is actually a pocket dimension, making his level of food consumption potentially limitless. He doesn't need to chew either. He just swallows his food whole and is ready for more. In addition, Kirby's largely elastic form means that he can inhale and swallow things much larger than himself, including Bowser and Donkey Kong in Smash Bros. Let's look at the different courses soon to disappear into Kirby's mouth. When it comes to the Long Island iced boat and the potentially toxic pufferfish, Kirby has shown that he can ingest harmful substances with zero repercussions. In fact, Kirby befriends a race called Cappy monkeys in the anime who give Kirby their expired food. Not only does Kirby gobble it down eagerly, he never seems to suffer any ill effects from this food. In courses involving foods that normally require labor, such as crab, as well as just plain inedible objects, Kirby has an overwhelming advantage. Homer and No-Face are both pointedly seen avoiding eating inedible objects, but there are numerous food items in the Kirby games that are on or in some sort of plate or container. The pet brew is in a bottle, there's coffee in a mug, french fries in a carton, lobster in a shell and on a plate, meat with a very prominent bone protruding from it, and in each of these cases, Kirby doesn't leave any leftovers. Bottles, mugs, cartons, plates, shells, bones all go down the hatch. Homer and No-Face will have to crack open crab shells, eat around bones, open cans of soda, but that which they deem to be obstacles are just as appealing to Kirby, who will inhale and swallow it all just as quickly as anything else on the table. Hell, he'll probably suck in the leftovers that his rivals snobbily discard. And a dessert course? Please. In the game Kirby's Epic Yarn, Kirby enters a cake eating contest, and the cake is the size of an actual mountain. Spoiler alert, he wins. He's just disappointed that he couldn't go back for seconds. But courses aside, there's another huge advantage that Kirby has, and that is his personality. Contrary to what Miles would have you believe, Homer is a lifelong pessimist and cynic who's easily discouraged whenever things become difficult. No-Face is a creature who gravitates toward novel experiences, but does so with no real control or direction. Kirby is both incredibly positive, which Homer lacks, and incredibly determined, which No-Face lacks. He will approach whatever is put in front of him, knowing that he can handle it, and he'll be right. Not only will Kirby be able to consume more, including stuff that No-Face and Homer have pointedly shown they won't eat, he'll be able to do it much more quickly, just inhaling anything into that endless stomach of his. Unfortunately, he probably won't end up with a trophy, as he's likely to also inhale the judges panel, but he'll be a winner in our hearts and minds, and that's the real victory.
Did you not hear the part about the plastic lobsters and the Play-Doh? Just out of curiosity, were you not listening for that part?
Just wait for rebuttal, sir.
All right.
No-Face, take it away.
So, there are some really good competitors in this match, but there's one factor that when you really think about it makes No-Face superior to any other competitor that he could ever face in an eating contest. And that's the fact that No-Face, being a weird magical Japanese spirit rather than a physical organism, is not bound by the laws of physics to the same degree that the other competitors are, and has thus a seemingly infinite potential for growth and evolution over the course of this contest. All denizens of the spirit realm in Spirited Away seem to be quite a bit more flexible in their appearances and abilities than beings of the material world, able to shift their appearance and seemingly spontaneously generate new powers as the need for such powers arise, with no regard for consistent logic governing what they can and cannot do. That is because the world of Spirited Away is inspired by Japanese mythology at its druggiest, making it a crazy world of nonsensical dream logic, and no character in that movie has a more flexible or open-ended set of abilities than No-Face. At the beginning of the film, we see that No-Face is able to easily devour human-sized living creatures in a single bite. As the film goes on and No-Face continues to eat, he doesn't seem to ever be in any danger of getting full. Later in the film, we see him scoop up 2 human-sized beings and toss them both in his mouth at the same time and swallow them both in a single gulp. It seems as though the more No-Face eats, the hungrier he gets, and the more powerful he gets. This is because No-Face is the Incredible Hulk of hunger, and you would not like him when he's hungry. As No-Face grows, we see him almost instantaneously wolfing down dozens upon dozens of giant platters of food, one after another without stopping and without showing any signs of getting full. Every employee in the bathhouse is working to feed No-Face for hours on end, and it is never enough. He only ever wants more. He says to the staff of the bathhouse, "Just keep the food coming. I want to eat everything." And he means everything. Based on the abilities that No-Face is implied to have in this movie, I'd argue that if he were allowed to keep going on this way unchecked for long enough, he would keep growing indefinitely and keep getting hungrier until he grew to Godzilla-sized proportions and stopped eating people and started eating skyscrapers. So it's a good thing that whatever. It's a good thing.
You can just
your character.
You can just call her Sen. You can just call her Sen.
No, it's not her name. Sorry. I watched
at this stage of the movie it is.
Yes. It's a good thing that Shichiro fed him that weird magical spirit turd that kind of looked like a hush puppy from Long John Silver's or whatever it was, that purged him of all of his evil and impurity, or whatever it did to him, because otherwise that movie would have had a very different ending. Namely, No-Face eats everything. Although I would argue that we never get to see the full extent of what No-Face is capable of in Spirited Away. You know, he doesn't become Godzilla or whatever. We can tell that he's an enormous threat to the bathhouse because of the way that Yubaba reacts to him. Yubaba is the big, scary, evil witch in this movie. Everyone else in the bathhouse is scared shitless of her, and the only thing that we ever see her being afraid of over the entire course of the movie is No-Face. Her eyes go wide and she freaks out when she realizes that there is what she refers to as a No-Face in the bathhouse. Clearly, she knows what these things are, and she knows that it is a serious threat to her.
Real quick, I need you guys to tell me a few things. In the crab course, each contestant must crack and strip away all parts of the shell. They cannot be consumed. Also, in the pufferfish course, you have to listen to directions from a chef on how to prepare the pufferfish so you don't kill yourself when you eat it. So I want people to touch on that too.
Okay, first of all, no, I don't, because Homer has eaten poisoned pufferfish improperly prepared before and survived. And there's also the great episode with Frank Grimes in The Simpsons. I don't know if you guys remember that one. It's one of the best ones. I forget exactly what it's called, but it's the character of Frank Grimes who gets hired on the nuclear plant. At one point, he's disgusted with Homer, and he says to Lenny, "Look at him, he eats like a pig." And Lenny's response is, pigs tend to chew. I think he eats more like a duck. And it shows Homer basically just like swallowing stuff whole. Again, this is all stuff that's happened in the show. So are you saying that we have to like peeling the crabs as part of the contest, or that you think?
Yes.
Because I was going to say alternative is if we could argue that it would not hurt our character, then we could argue that they could eat the whole thing. But are you saying that that's?
Yeah, you cannot eat it.
Well, in that case, I would point to Homer's profound experience cleaning out seafood restaurants. We've already seen this. That's what he does to the Flying Dutchman. He eats everything there. So I think that he is extremely proficient in shelling these crabs and gobbling them up just as fast as he can.
I would say with those two challenges, first of all, when it comes to the crab legs, all Kirby has to do is crack the crab leg shell very slightly, and then he can suck the meat directly out of it. As we've seen, his inhaling has a very distinctive vacuum cleaner-like property. So he doesn't have to open up the leg the whole way the way his two opponents do.
Is it that acute, though? Like, I feel like if he did that, he would just end up sucking the crab leg. It's not like he can... It's not a fine-tuned
and he doesn't
inhalation.
have thumbs, so I don't know how he's going to hold the crab leg in place.
Hey, guys. It's not rebuttals yet.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure. Liz?
No. Colin, go ahead and defend.
I haven't even gotten to the pufferfish yet.
Okay. Go ahead.
Out of the three contestants, Kirby is the one who is the most skilled at preparing food, because his final smash in Smash Brothers involves him putting on a chef's hat, getting out a giant cooking pot, and cooking his opponents. He also has a form in various Kirby games in which he becomes a chef. Now, Homer may know how to, boil a lobster, albeit unintentionally, but he doesn't have the level of culinary expertise that Kirby has, and No-Face is never seen cooking anything.
Homer has been so many things over the course of that show, including a chef and a food critic. So I'm not sure where you're getting this, that he doesn't have any culinary skills, because he has clearly been shown to have them, if only for one episode or two.
Hey, still not the rebuttals.
Okay.
Not the rebuttals.
Colin, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear that over the course of this contest and before it got to this final round, No-Face has been eating a lot of other contestants who haven't made it this far. And even though he's
absorbed their culinary skill.
Exactly. We have seen that No-Face has the ability to absorb the knowledge and abilities of people that he eats. And although these three are kind of like a little bit more supernatural, I'd imagine that a lot of the people who are in these sort of eating contests would have a lot of knowledge about how to compete in these sorts of things, and No-Face will have gained their abilities. If we're sticking to other fictional characters, why don't we go with Quina from Final Fantasy IX, also shown being an expert chef who No-Face has eaten in the last round, we'll say.
It's like, what are you like spending a fate point to change the way the game is going?
It's not a D&D reference, but I'll say that's half a shot.
On to the rebuttals.
I think we were gonna do it the way we did in the Blizzard round, where we sort of talk about each contestant one by one.
Yeah, do we start with both of you attacking Homer?
I think that's the way we do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So
all right.
this is going to be Homer.
All right.
So Homer's main weakness is that he is a human, as Miles mentioned, and he is limited by his physical human body. You mentioned that Homer was able to finish that sandwich eventually, but not before it expired. And dude, I've had so many Subway $5 footlongs in my life. Like, you split that up, that's 10 $5 footlongs. You have one for lunch, one for dinner every day, and you finish it in 5 days. I don't think it would go that bad in 5 days. It's not that hard, Homer. I'm sorry.
This was a huge 10-foot hoagie, man.
You said, I'm
sorry.
2 feet a day. You can make that happen.
It's not a Subway sandwich.
Maybe if you
Anyway.
had the eye of the tiger, it wouldn't have been a big deal, but apparently it was a big deal.
Well, the only other time that we see Homer getting to eat really crazy is when he's in hell. And we can assume that when he's in hell, he doesn't have a physical body. And so therefore, he can eat whatever he believes he can eat. So, once he's in hell and he's just like this ephemeral spirit, he can just eat as hungry as he is. And I think
I'm not sure if I like your religious implications here. So I think these are up for debate. How do you know it's not his physical body?
Well, we see him being very fluid when he's in hell. Like he can get like tortured and just like instantly pop back and stuff.
Yeah,
do you see him buried?
Well, in the scene before that, he gets cut up and put into a barrel of dog food, and there's no blood. He remains alive. That's not the sort of thing he could do if his body was working under its normal circumstances. Clearly, when he's in hell, different rules apply. But he's not in hell right now.
The rules that would apply to, like, let's say, a spirit creature, something like that, if there was one of them in this competition, who could eat whatever it wanted. But anyway, No-Face is the Incredible Hulk of hunger. Homer Simpson is the Captain America. Maximum human potential. He's got a lot of heart and can-do spirit, but he's not actually superhuman in the way that the other two competitors are. He can't really hang it in the big leagues. Anything else, Dan?
See, I don't even think he's Captain America, because the thing is, like, we see him in eating contests before. There's the Simpsons episode Maximum Homer Drive, in which Homer loses an eating contest to a trucker named Red. This was over, admittedly, a 16-pound steak, but he lost to a human, and that's a far cry from, I don't know, a cake the size of a mountain, which is what
a human
Kirby
that had
had.
actually already eaten a lamb earlier that day.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so I want to point out that the steak in question, as soon as Red finished that steak, he died of beef poisoning. That's the kind of steak we're talking about here. Homer gave a valiant effort. He lost one eating contest. All that means that he's got experience in eating contests. He's going to learn from his failures and do better next time. I don't think it's any stretch to say that he couldn't finish something that was so much meat that it actually killed somebody.
Well, also, we've seen that Homer cannot stand up to alcohol very well. He likes drinking, but he's kind of a lightweight, actually. He actually is. He is.
You're so full of shit.
He loves beer. He loves beer, and every time he drinks, he turns into a giant asshole. I'm sorry. And
that doesn't mean he can't hold it.
I think it's going to be like halfway through that course before his alter ego Peter Pantsless comes out and starts parading around, and he forgets all about the eating contest.
Will come out, absolutely, but the capacity for booze exists and is great and tremendous.
Despite Homer's gluttony, there are many foods that he won't touch, despite what you were saying, Miles. Mainly foods that bear any resemblance to healthy foods. So oatmeal, fruit. There was one time when he was willing to eat a poisoned eclair, but then he threw it away when Lisa pointed out to him that it was a low-fat eclair. So if anything on this table bears even the slightest resemblance to a vitamin, he's not going to touch it, and he will only...
Nothing does.
And we didn't touch on, there's the spicy stuff, and we know how well he stands up to spicy stuff after that episode with the Guatemalan insanity peppers.
I think you mean the merciless pepper of Quetzalcoatl.
That's the one.
Yes.
That did quite a number on Homer, causing him to go on a crazy vision quest.
Yeah, I think
it's the same menu
reality.
you did, and I heard nothing spicy and nothing healthy.
There was the ghost pepper stuff.
Yeah, there was the ghost
chicken.
pepper. That was why
sorry, okay.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, that's right.
Because
so the ghost pepper might give him problems, but it's not. The ghost pepper is not on the same level as other shit.
I don't know.
And
I think
the point about the healthy foods simply does not apply.
I think by the time this eating contest is over, like, Kirby and No-Face may still be on the stage, but Homer is going to wake up in a lighthouse after having been guided there by a coyote with the voice of Johnny Cash.
And end. Okay.
And scene.
Good job writing us in, Liz.
Well, let's move on to Kirby.
All right.
Kirby is 8 inches tall. I'm sorry. Kirby's height canonically in the Kirby series is 8 inches tall. Dreamland is a tiny little miniature world, and Kirby's very small. You may say, what about Super Smash Brothers? In that, he seems like he's about 3 feet tall. How do you explain that? Basically, the characters in Super Smash Brothers are not the actual characters from the respective games. They are toys of those characters that children are playing with in imaginary battles. That is the canon explanation for the story of Super Smash Brothers. It is implied in the intro video in the first Super Smash Brothers game, and it is stated by the creators in various interviews. If you need more convincing, according to Pokemon, Pikachu is 1 foot 4 inches tall, but in Super Smash Brothers, both Kirby and Pikachu seem to be about the same height, right around 3 feet tall.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, though. As seen in the game Return to Dreamland, the longer Kirby inhales, the larger the objects that he can absorb. And in the game Kirby Triple Deluxe, he can gain the Hypernova ability, which allows him to inhale tremendously large and heavy objects like trees. It doesn't matter how large he is, it's how large objects he can swallow, and that is a very high bar.
I mean,
he does have limits, though. You can't say that he has infinite potential because he doesn't finish that mountain of cake, sir. There is a point where Kirby cannot, he has limits, is what I'm saying.
He would have finished that mountain of cake had it not collapsed under its own weight after having been unwisely eaten.
I mean, in some games,
admit it.
Yeah.
Well, listen, if he gets full eating half a mountain of cake, that's still a damn sight more than either Homer or No Face have ever eaten.
I don't think that's factually correct, but go ahead, Colin.
No, I was going to say, the other thing is that his abilities are kind of static. We see that he can copy the powers of one enemy at a time in most games, or he can combine two enemy powers in Kirby 64. But we see no evidence of him having the ability to permanently and drastically improve his capabilities over the course of the games or within a single game. Over the course of 20 years, he's kind of just the same little puffball. He can eat someone roughly his size most of the time. Occasionally he has a weird superpower that lets him eat a whole bunch of stuff. But if he eats somebody, he can only copy more than one power at a time, as opposed to No Face, who can just keep eating people and keep adding traits and powers onto himself with no upper limit that we've ever seen.
It's interesting that you bring that up, because even if Homer or No Face seem to have a greater eating ability than Kirby, Kirby can just briefly inhale them to gain their abilities. And as you pointed out, in Kirby 64, he can combine the abilities of different opponents that he inhales. And when he inhales two opponents who have the same ability, that ability becomes exponentially greater than it would be if it were combined. So all Kirby has to do is inhale both No Face and Homer, spit them both out, and all of a sudden he is a million times the eater that both of them are put together.
What do you mean by abilities? I don't have any supernatural powers.
You would seem to argue otherwise in your
you got the willpower.
No, Homer is, like Colin said, Homer is the Captain America of eating. He's maximum human potential.
Miles, I'm trying to imagine Kirby with the Homer Simpson hairline and the 5 o'clock shadow and wearing a tiny version of the No Face mask, and you will not take that away from me.
Yes, I will.
If we want to talk about eating other characters, No Face would be all about eating you guys, but we'll get to that.
You were talking, Dan, about Kirby's personality and how it lends itself better to this contest than the other two. I think that is fundamentally wrong. Kirby is a real nice guy. He's innocent and fun and sweet and does the right thing. You can talk all you want about how Homer has a pessimistic worldview. I don't think that's consistently true. Frequently, he's shown having all the wide-eyed, childlike optimism of any 6-year-old, along with the intelligence.
I'm like a kid in some kind of store, he once said.
Yeah, but the thing is, Homer has something that Kirby has never had, which is the vindictive drive to win at competitions. And, there are times where things have been hard and he's stop trying. But when you push him, when he really wants to beat you, when he really wants to get back at you, when there is nothing, when he has that drive to defeat an opponent in any scenario, there is no one more utterly and determinately and stupidly vindictive than Homer Simpson. So, yes, I question your killer instinct in the eating contest.
I don't know about that, man. Kirby doesn't mess around when it comes to food. He once attacked Meta Knight after he suspected that Meta Knight had stolen his strawberry shortcake. That is where he draws the line. And in this contest, Homer's gonna fold the same way he did when Dredrick Tatum kept punching him in the face.
Oh, low blow.
And that's it.
Oh no, I have more. Oh.
Let's move on to No Face.
Okay.
All right. Come at me, bros.
So, No Face is not a creature of pure gluttony the way that Homer and Kirby are.
Right, that's the thing.
He's more of a creature of novel sensations. In Spirited Away, he's experiencing the joys of eating for the first time, so he overindulges in his gluttony, but he's easily distracted from his eating whenever Sen shows up, because he's also experiencing affection and generosity for the first time. So
not only that, but he only experiences greed and that sort of gluttonous desire to have things and have people wait on him and have people give him food after he swallows and absorbs the personality of, I forget his name, but the frog-like guy. So the desire that he shows in that film to eat and eat and eat does not belong to him.
Well,
it's not fundamental to his character.
Guy in the first place, if at least some of that didn't come from him.
My thinking is, No Face has a thing for Sen, as we know. It's not a love or a sex thing or whatever. He just wants to be around Sen.
He wants her approval.
Right, and he sees her hanging out with all these people in the bathhouse. So he says, I should be more like these people. So, he consumes the frog in order to be more like the frog. And then he begins to act more like the people that he sees in the bathhouse, which is to say people who indulge their gluttonous instincts. But that's not who he is fundamentally. All of his passions are predicated on him being inside the bathhouse. Once he's outside, he's just this barely self-aware spirit that sort of drifts around to whatever catches his attention.
So I'm wondering what would happen if you spent some time at, say, an eating contest surrounded by a lot of gluttons. I wonder what sort of being he would turn into then. Well, that's interesting.
The thing is that he's very easily distracted. All emotions and sensations overwhelm him, not just gluttony. And that means that even the slightest distraction by something novel, which are most things, particularly in Coney Island, will completely draw his attention away from the contest.
Yeah, plus, man, how is he going to handle the booze? What is that guy like drunk?
That's true. That's very true.
You think that out of all of the things that he was being served there at that place, you think there wasn't some sake in that bathhouse that he was downing? I think that
Yeah, but think of all the food he was eating at the same time. He was not doing the course thing in the bathhouse, right? He was kind of all mixing it all together. Yeah. And given he probably had carbs soaking up what little sake he was having.
He's been eating hot dogs for hours leading up to this, man. We've established this.
No, but the booze is the first major course, though. The Long Island Ice boat.
Up to this, and right as soon as he finishes it, he's gonna start doing some other stuff.
Tremendous amount of alcohol, sir.
Sure.
I don't know.
How's Kirby gonna handle that alcohol? A tiny little child who's never had alcohol before.
He sucks it down, swallows it, and he's good to go. Here's the thing.
Oh, he's gonna be so drunk.
Here's the thing about No Face.
Drunk baby is all I'm saying. Drunk little baby.
Drunk gluttonous baby. So No Face may be gluttonous when it comes to food, maybe, and I'm underlining maybe there, but he clearly doesn't enjoy bowls or plates because he throws them aside or spits them back out when they get into his mouth. The valuable seconds that No Face uses eating around or spitting out plates are seconds that he could be using to eat more food. Kirby will not be wasting those same seconds as he eats the plates themselves.
Right, but the thing about No Face is
costing the contest money. Not to get back on Kirby or anything, but I think he should be penalized for not being able to discriminate.
Ain't nothing in the rules that say a contestant can't eat the plates.
Well, I'm just gonna say,
thank you, referee from Air Bud.
Yes. Or motocrossed or any of those other. Right. Anyway, I think that although Kirby may start off with an edge over No Face, this whole infinite potential thing that we see No Face having is going to give him the edge in the long run, because we see No Face eating people, clothes and all, and not spitting out their clothes. And sometimes he starts spitting out plates, but I imagine by the time we get a few courses in, he's only shown eating food in that bathhouse for a couple hours. If he's already had this whole hot dog eating competition leading up to this, and whatever else he's been eating at Coney Island and all the other competitors he's probably eaten, and then all these courses, by the time we get to halfway through this contest, he's going to be the size of a house and just not even caring and just eating food by the table full,
but the thing is that growing. The thing is, though, is that the tiniest thing might cause him to vomit it all back up.
The tiniest thing? Is there going to be a little magic spirit ball from a river spirit that can, cure any wound and remove any impurity?
I don't know.
It was not on the list of courses.
It's entirely possible. It's Coney Island. Somebody might have slipped it in there. I'm just saying, No Face has this weakness inherent to his character.
There was one Deus Ex Machina magic device that was able to defeat him at one point. If that does not come along,
you don't know that's unique. Maybe it was just like the fucking fat guy in Monty Python Life and The Meaning of Life, where it's that one little thing was too much. You don't know.
Look, all I'm gonna say, there's one scene where we see No Face eating outside of the bathhouse. He goes to the witch Zaniba's house. He's presented with a table covered in food. He very gingerly takes a single slice of cake, which he slowly begins to cut into delicately. What sort of glutton shows restraint and delicacy?
We see Kirby taking time to enjoy his food as well sometimes.
No way. If Kirby had been in that situation, he would have inhaled that entire table and all its contents and asked for seconds.
Well, I'm sorry that he's not able to enjoy his food the way that No Face is when he's not possessed by an evil gluttonous spirit of hunger.
I didn't realize that Kirby was some kind of god who inhaled everything around him like some sort of tiny pink black hole. I think you're mischaracterizing
Well, in all fairness, you don't play a lot of video games, so,
And we're done. Let's wrap this up like our Thanksgiving leftovers. Okay.
Boom.
Time for... What's that?
What?
What's that I hear?
Huh?
I don't know.
Oh my god! That was
the lightning round.
It was lightning.
Can't lightning round now, eating.
As the old saying goes, you are what you eat. That's literally the case right now. In a bizarre turn of events involving a meat grinder, frying pan, hamsters, and elderberries, Our gluttonous contestants must become the very prey that they stalk. Their food. You must tell me what food your character would become.
What?
I want the type of food, what your brand name would be, how someone would consume you, and how you would market your delicious processed or unprocessed ass. I'm hungry right now, so tell me why I should eat your products.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Also,
God.
what color would my vomit be when I inevitably have to throw up your disgusting shit?
Liz, I'm fairly certain you said at the top of this that the lightning round wasn't that weird.
Yeah, you said something along those lines, and you were mistaken.
Okay, so friends, are you tired of boring everyday condiments? Ketchup, gross. Who likes that? Mustard, that is so last season. Well, I have a solution for all of your problems. We have No Face's patented Spirited Away brand Spirit Spread. You see, it is a black paste that has very little taste on its own, but it is able to adapt to whatever meal that you put it on and bring out all of its own natural flavors. This relatively innocuous substance, much in the vein of like sriracha. You taste it on its own, and you're like, yeah, it's okay. But then you find, guess what? It just tastes good on everything. It's low carb. It's sort of insubstantial, one might say. And yeah, it kind of sneaks up on you. It's just there in the background, not really drawing too much attention to itself. But it is the unsung hero of any meal that it is a part of. Just one bite and you will be hooked. It will, I don't know, puns. Puns are nice. It tastes like free gold or something. I don't know. And of course, it will
So
turn
metallic and likely toxic.
Indeed. It will turn your vomit, of course, an inky and unfathomable black. And all of your body fluids will turn the same inky, unfathomable black for many days after you eat it. But it's still very good, so eat it. That's all I got.
Okay. Kirby.
Jimmy, why aren't you eating your candy bar? Oh, Dad, I took a couple of bites, but the flavor's just always the same. Are you tired of this happening to you? Are your kids sick and tired of the candy you get partway through eating it? Introducing Kirbites. Sure, these tasty, tiny puffed pastries may taste delicious on their own, and they do, but the magic of Kirbites is simply rub it on a food, and it will absorb the flavor of the food into it. Sick of the taste of Kirbites and decide you want some mashed potatoes? No problem. Just rub it on some taters and pop it in your ever-hungry gorge. How about some steak? Or some vegetables? Or other Kirbites? Kirbites does it all. So
no, if you run one Kirbite on another Kirbite, it takes the flavor out of that one and leaves the original one with no flavor. We've all learned this, right?
That's a myth. It's like that Stretch Armstrong thing. So head on down to your local Walgreens now and pick up Kirbites in convenient pocket-sized pouches or in wheelbarrow-sized portions. Kirbites, we want to be inside you. Kirbites, we'll turn your vomit pink.
That's what happens when you don't have to go first. Your puns are better.
Oh, yeah, right. Boy.
Homer.
All right, so I'm not sure if I can do the whole the whole fake commercial thing because I hate advertising and marketing in all its forms with every fiber of my being. However, I am here to tell you about Homer Simpson's dream. This is not the name of my product, but at one point, Homer Simpson has a dream, which he talks to Apu about. He actually asks Apu if Apu has beer with Skittles floating in it. And Apu's response is, such a product does not exist, sir. I think you must have dreamed it. And Homer says, aw, well then give me a 6-pack of beer and a couple packs of Skittles. This idea, from these humble beginnings, came a masterpiece, now known as Simpson's shit.
Simpson's shit? That's the name of your product?
I'm sure this is going to go over as well as his idea for a car.
No, it's Simpson's Skittle Spirits of Success, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. And it's not just Skittles. We have expanded our product lines to include not only all kinds of liquor, but all kinds of desserts. Any combination of booze and candy you can think of, whiskey and donuts. Vodka and M&M's, candy canes and peppermint schnapps. Anything you can think of, that sweetness
I actually had that last
combined
one.
with
It's really
that
good.
buzz.
You
I'm
have
not
Homer
saying you
Simpson
invented
to thank.
I do.
Yeah, you do have Homer Simpson to thank. And here's the other thing. Here is the kicker about Simpson's Skittle Spirits of Success. It's the success part. Because this food contains the essence of Homer Simpson. And if we know anything about Homer, it's that Homer Simpson
Homer
has
Simpson.
a lot of things in his life that he does not deserve and did not work for. If you consume this product, if you were already not sold on booze and candy combined in all their forms, think about this. This food will allow you to sit back, relax, gain some weight without fear of how your life will go. You will have a beautiful spouse and loving family. You will have a wonderful suburban house. You will have a job that you are totally unqualified to do, but still get paid for it, inexplicably. Actual success not necessarily proven by our sponsor. Or various other hastily said words at the end of the commercial that indicate that this might not actually happen to you.
Okay. Wow. All right. I'm gonna go eat a snack. I'll be back.
Oh, God.
This is a new low, gentlemen. A
Yep.
new
This
low.
is... I don't even know. I don't even know what just happened.
We didn't even
Yeah.
make a D&D reference that whole time.
I threw in the fate points. Come on. That counts.
But
That's an RPG.
kind of surprised you didn't go with the flaming Homer for your product at the end.
Already taken.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, that was already built. Like, I didn't want to just say, oh, here's something he had once.
Well,
Yeah.
no,
Or
same
mean,
with
he made.
Skittles and beer,
Simpson-
but, you know.
Simpsons
that was a
did
dream,
it, so
sir. That was a
obviously,
dream.
like, you know,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
he made some food product at some point. When you were talking about his dream, I thought you were going to go with the land of chocolate at first.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I could have done that. Could have gone with that one.
So basically just like an edible Willy Wonka's chocolate factory.
It's like
No,
it's an amusement park you can go to of the land of chocolate.
I know the land of chocolate, sir.
Yeah.
The product would actually, like, transform the world into chocolate. Like, it would actually have that effect on anything it touched.
So this like Homer gets the Infinity Gauntlet and decides to use its powers to transform the Earth into the land of chocolate.
So, for example, just as an example, you could go to, say, a Donald Trump rally, turn Donald Trump into chocolate, eat him, and
Way to
rid
date
the
this
world
episode,
of one of the
Miles.
most-
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
If
is
you
he
love this
not,
episode so much, why don't you date it?
I kind of feel
now the puns come out, Colin?
I
Now.
know. Where were they? all
kinda
my
feel
puns
like,
abandoned me. I like deer in the headlights, and all my puns fled away.
I kind of feel like if Homer got the Infinity Gauntlet, he would just recreate the reign of donuts that happened that one time he had the time traveling toaster.
Yeah.
Apparently he's Captain America, so...
Yeah.
Who is Kirby in the Marvel universe? If we have the Incredible Hulk and
I mean, according to Dan, he's like the Watcher or Eternity or some
No,
shit.
he's clearly Galactus. The
Oh, shut
character
up. He's
known
a
for
tiny
eating great
Galactus.
quantities of things is Kirby. Come on.
he's like Matter Eater Lad at
That's
best. I know that's not
DC,
DC,
Colin.
but still.
You were talking about him like he was better than Galactus, sir. You were talking
I
about
mean,
him like
listen,
he was...
if the shoe fits, eat it.
If the tiny red shoes fit,
Or the giant purple World Eater shoes fit.
We were talking about Galactus for this
or the
contest,
little
weren't we?
tiny,
Yes.
rocket shoes of the Galactus ripoff from the Tick. What's his name?
Omnipotus, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that guy.
Now, we were talking about Galactus for this matchup, but I feel like what we said his diet was too constrained. Like, he only ate planets.
Yeah.
I mean, all this stuff technically counts as planets.
Yeah, it's pieces of a planet that we've just turned into very specific nutrient bases.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
Does he have to process it by his ship? Does he have to shoot everything with his ship lasers and
Yeah, he has to convert it into energy, which he then absorbs into himself. So he's more
Yeah,
like
it's a really inefficient way of doing
Yeah.
it, which has been his undoing
he's
a lot of the time.
He's more like the planet sponge.
Yeah.
you know.
That's a lot less interesting. I want him to just eat planets.
Just grab it with one hand and take a big bite out of it.
Yeah, like the guy in the Tick. He's way better.
Yep.
Well, pretty much everything but the Tick is awesome.
When are we going to have the Tick in this show, you guys?
I know we should. We need to at some point.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it'll probably be like weeks after it's relevant, just like how this episode is, our Thanksgiving episode being released.
So what was the
week into December.
What was the craziest or the best thing that you guys ate for Thanksgiving?
Oh man. So my parents-in-law always do Russian cuisine, and so there's always like this really bizarre combination of salami and pickles that they give, like regardless of what the meal is. Anytime I eat food at my mother-in-law's house, it's always like salami and pickles is a sizable portion of the overall meal.
Interesting. Salami and pickles.
Or something salami-like.
Yeah. So Dan, as you know, Dad always goes overboard with Thanksgiving.
Yes.
He tried to like really limit himself this time, but it didn't really help because, you know, everybody's kind of scattered to the four winds this Thanksgiving, but he still made way too much stuff. It was all the standard stuff, so it's nothing interesting, but it was super, super good. Lots of pie, all that stuff.
Nice. Right on. Sounds good.
Anything interesting from you, Miles?
I don't even remember. All I remember was that the Bears won that night. So
So victory is what you had.
That's right. I tasted victory.
Yeah.
So
I
have some bread here in front of me, and I have a glass. And I don't know what to eat, but after careful deliberation, I think I am grabbing for some spirit spread.
Yes.
I picked no
Wow.
place.
Wow.
Yes.
For some seriously out of the box arguments.
So-
this is a good day. This is a good day.
Right on. Congratulations, Colin.
Well done.
Yeah.
At least Kirby didn't win. That's all I have to say.
Hey, people who are from Gameable, if you listen to this, unless there's something Kit wanted to say.
No.
What I want to say is it's pronounced Chihiro.
Chihiro. I was watching it with the subtitles.
Didn't I say
and I
that?
didn't say it out loud.
Chihiro.
I said that.
Yeah,
Chihiro.
no. Colin was the one who was Chia.
I was watching it with subtitles on. They didn't and I couldn't catch it in the Japanese-ness. I was just reading it every time. Sorry.
Chihiro. It's like Spanish, but with a Japanese accent. The vowels are super simple. Come on.
All right, moving on.
Anyway, thank you to the Gameable Podcast people for calling out the two now dueling taglines for our two podcasts and the desire to make t-shirts out of both of them. They were talking about making some Gameable Podcast t-shirts that say less yelling, more thinking, and that they suggested that we have some Smash Fiction t-shirts that say less thinking, more yelling. And I am totally on board with this as an idea.
We need to do this.
And super big thanks to Atamasco. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your screen name there correctly, but thank you so much for the 5-star review on iTunes. We super rely on that for iTunes to
we
kind
need
of
those reviews, guys.
Yeah, for visibilities.
Yeah, we don't has the big money sponsorships, so we kind of need every little thing. Thank you so much, Atamasco.
What do they say? Will you read it? I can't find it.
It says, the witty hosts deliver a humorous podcast experience that you just can't find anywhere else. Subscribe and you will not regret it. Is that sweet?
That's very nice.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Smash Fiction. Next week, we have a Sith threesome, because I couldn't think of a good pun. It's gonna be Darth Tyrannus, aka Count Dooku, versus Darth Maul versus Darth Vader.
Nice job.
Join us for super fun Star Time Wars.
Join us for
Yay!
a Star.
Smash Fiction is produced by Miles Schneiderman, with logo designed by Colin Mulcairn.
Special thanks to Kevin MacLeod for our theme song, which is called Hitman. You can find his work at www.incompetech.com.
You can follow the Smash Fiction podcast on Twitter at SmashFicPodcast and search for us on Facebook and Tumblr.
Subscribe on iTunes, and if you leave us a good review, we shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
If you have any suggestions, feedback, or other contributions, send them to us at smashfictionpodcast@gmail.com and help us continue the fight.
We're making jokes. It's a comedy podcast. These are jokes that we're making.
These are jokes that are coming out of my mouth, and they're funny.
You are laughing at them because they are jokes and they are funny.